Hello Year 2. This term we are going to be talking about another very famous artist. So last term we talked about our good friend Mr. Claude Monet, and this term we're going to be talking about a painter and artist called Henri Matisse. So Henri Matisse was born on the 31st of December in the year 1869. So that was a really, really long time ago. And I'm going to pop up some photos of how he looked. Here's a picture of him when he was a little bit younger. Hopefully I can put it there. And then we'll put a little photo of when he was a little bit older over here. So the interesting thing about Henri Matisse is that he was part of this art movement called Fauvism. Now, Fauvism is a very big and very strange word, but like Claude Monet, Henri Matisse was French. So this word, Fauvism, is a French word. I think it's a French word. And it basically means wild beasts. And so the way that the artists who painted in this style called Fauvism did things that were really strange that people had never seen before. They painted pictures of people that were in really bright, beautiful, expressive colours, and instead of making their people look real, they used colours that showed emotions and showed feelings. So these artworks that they made, these portraits and self-portraits, they didn't really ever look realistic. They didn't look like the person, but they showed you something about the person even without making them look real. They showed emotion, they showed color, and they showed feeling, which is what makes them super interesting. I'm going to show you a couple of Henri Matisse artworks today, some paintings. We're going to start with a self-portrait that looks quite realistic, and then we're going to go on to some of the more Fauvism, really bright coloured ones. Let's see how we go. Okay, Year 2. So hopefully I can put this painting here. Okay, so this painting is a self-portrait by Henri Matisse. So in this artwork, we can already see the sort of style that he uses. So he uses lots of dark outlines, lots of black outlines around the artwork that he makes. But this one is not very Fauvist. It doesn't really use those bright, unrealistic colours that we normally know Matisse is really famous for. This one's a lot more realistic, but I really like this one because it's a self-portrait of him, and we can see from those photos that I showed you before that it looks exactly like him. And there's definitely parts of this artwork that are really part of his style. Like I said, those dark outlines, but also just the way that he puts the paint onto the canvas. So if we look at that brown of his jacket, he hasn't just used one colour in there. There's lots of different shades of brown, and it makes a really interesting texture. In most of Henri Matisse's artworks, one of the things that I like about it is that you can actually see where he puts his brush strokes. You can actually see where he paints and the bristles from the brushes go through. You can see that a lot in the background as well, where it's grey and it turns into black, and also in the little case that's at his feet down in the bottom right hand corner. We can really see where all his brush strokes are. And it's one of the things that I think is really interesting and exciting about Henri Matisse's paintings. The next little painting that we're going to look at is another self-portrait by Henri Matisse, and it's called Self-Portrait in a Striped Shirt. And he painted this in 1906. So that's like 114 years ago, which is amazing, I think. And this artwork here is much more like the Henri Matisse we know. So it uses really unusual, really bright colours, and it's not very realistic. The way that he's painted himself in this Fauvism style, he's used his colours to show his expression. He doesn't look very happy in this artwork. He looks quite serious and quite stern, and I think that the colours that he's used have really added to that. If he was doing a happy artwork, do you think that he would use colours like blue and green? Probably not. Blue and green are sort of sadder, more serious colours. In this one, even more than the last one, you can see all the different places where he's put his brush. It's very, 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 very textured. We can see lots of lines from his paintbrush and lots of marks where he's put his brush through the page. One thing that I haven't shown you guys, which we see a lot in Henri Matisse's artworks, is that Henri Matisse signs almost all of his artwork. So on most of his artworks, if you look very, very carefully, in the bottom corner, either the left or the right bottom corner, you can usually see where he has written his name. So he signed his artwork down the bottom, just like your mum and dad might sign a form, so that you know that it's his painting. See if you can see his name written on this one. I'll give you a hint, it's down the bottom. Did you find it? I hope so. So this one is much more like the Henri Matisse we know. Lots and lots of colour, lots of really thick expressive lines, and he's still got those dark black outlines on most of his painting. So around the shirt, on his face, they're not blended together and smooth. It's like he's drawn it almost with a thick texture. And I think that's another interesting thing that Henri Matisse does that's quite special to how he paints. The last little painting that we're going to look at for today is called Portrait of Madame Matisse. And this is actually a painting of Henri Matisse's wife. And we can see that on this one, he has used crazy unrealistic colours. These colours are nothing like what we would see if we were painting someone realistically, trying to make them look real. These are very bright, exciting colours. And this is what Henri Matisse was really, really known for. This style fauvism, which was wild and exciting and used bright colours. On this one, he hasn't so much used those dark black outlines. Instead, his outlines are that really dark, beautiful blue. And he's only used it in some sections. My favourite thing about this picture though, and one of my favourite things about Matisse in general, is that his texture, like I talked about, is amazing, particularly if you look in that blue hair. You can see all the different lines where he's painted her hair and tried to make it look a little bit more realistic and textured with his paintbrush. He paints very thick. If you reached out and touched this painting, I think it would be rough and bumpy. Okay, so year 2, now that we've looked at a couple of Henri Matisse's fauvism paintings with lots of bright colours, what I would like you to do today is you can do a portrait, so a picture of someone else, or a self-portrait, a picture of yourself in the same sort of style as Henri Matisse. So you can use really bright, interesting and exciting colours and thick black lines, just like he did, to create your own portrait. I can't wait to see what you make, and I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about Henri Matisse today. It's been lots of fun. Can't wait to show you some more next week. I'll see you then. Goodbye.